Hey, welcome to the yet to be named show. In fact, maybe that's one of the things that my three sons can help me with is we've got to name the show because my YouTube channel is fairly new and there's no name for this show. And you're really episode one of the show. So as we move forward, if you're inspired to think of a name, help me out. But otherwise,
Mark,
my name's Ed. What were you gonna say, Nick?
I was gonna say maybe like Mark's Pod, something like quick and easy to remember.
Yeah, Mark's Paw. Like it?
Mark's Pod.
All
Go ahead.
right. Yeah, we'll come back to that one. So I want to welcome everyone. So yeah, this is the first Mark's Pod show, and I want to talk about digital disruption, but we're doing something a little unique, and that is I want to talk about digital disruption in three other industries, and to represent those three industries happen to be my three young men. So it's a very special time indeed. Plus, we're right up against Father's Day, so it's kind of a cool experience to have all three of them. And right behind me, let me brag about you guys first, and then we'll ask you to introduce yourself. I've got a little memento for each of my sons. So one of them's a double platinum record or a platinum record, probably double platinum now. A movie, a pretty awesome movie, Land of the Free. Look it up on YouTube now for free. And this is a YouTube 100,000 subscriber mark. It's actually like 133,456 if I looked lately. But anyways, great to have you. So we're going to start in age order. So Brandon, we'll start with you. Just sort of introduce yourself, where you're beaming in from, and the industry that you serve in.
How's it going? Brandon, obviously great to be on the Marks Pod or the Edcast or however you want to call this. It's great to see all you guys in the same place virtually. It's a lot of fun. I just wanted to say right off the bat, I love that we have such varying imagery coming from all of us. I love the different styles, and I think it speaks a lot to just different personalities. So
Thank you.
I think that's cool. Yeah, I'm coming from Keller, Texas. It's very hot these days, so I kind of wish I was somewhere else at this point, but it's great to be here. And I work in the video production industry in three different facets. One of them is live production, music, and talking head capture. Another one of those industries is the studio production, so commercials, things that we might see on like during a TV commercial break, and just marketing for various companies. And then also I have a coaching business that I teach the skills that I've learned in order to help others get better. So everything that I do really focuses on video and video production.
All right, that's awesome. So welcome, and then we'll go to you, Nick.
Sweet, yeah. So my name's Nick Shawn. So I'm here in Fort Worth, Texas right now. We're in downtown at the moment, and just like Brandon said, it's insanely hot here, so we're staying inside as much as we can. I was looking forward to doing this because you don't have to be outside. I work in the financial market space, so I trade stocks, cryptocurrencies, foreign exchange currency markets, and a couple other different markets. I own a coaching business as well that helps other people learn how to trade. So kind of like Brandon, Brandon also does consulting, teaching a skill set to other people. And much like Dad, you are now running a consulting company as well. It's pretty interesting. All four of us here on this call right now are all entrepreneurs at the moment, which is really, really, really cool to see. So I'm super happy to be here, and I think we're going to have a lot of unique perspectives as we move through this call.
For sure, yeah. Great having you, Nick. We'll go to Austin.
Hey, what's up? I'm Austin. I live out here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a producer and a songwriter. So for those that may not know exactly what that is, it's taking the songs that are come from your mind or that are just on a piano or acoustic guitar that you can sing to somebody in a room. I take those from that all the way to a finished product that you hear on the radio, on a CD, or on your phone, Spotify, and I also help write them too, lyrically, and all the melodies and what you sing. So it's a very creative industry, and it's actually all creative, my side of the industry. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. And to Nick's point, yeah, we're all entrepreneurs. So I sort of forced into it. First, I'm learning from the three of you. You all sort of blaze the trail for me. And so I'm watching what you all do, and I'm sure our audience will get something out of it as well. So let's talk digital transformation specifically in your industries, and we'll go random. So whoever wants to go first. But what we want to know about is just, again, remind the audience of your industry, but then talk about how digital has impacted the industry, whether it was a couple of years ago or even today, or where it's heading in the future. So it'd be kind of interesting from all of your perspectives. So whoever wants to jump in, jump.
No, I mean, I think every industry has been disrupted, specifically recently with AI. It's been a huge disruption to particularly the video industry, which like I said, I focus on. And in that case, like what's happened is it's developed in two things in people. You have the set of people who are afraid of everything AI, and then you have the people that are using it to help them be more efficient. And I think that's the biggest thing that it's done for us and the different various industries and companies I work in, is to be able to use it for our advantage. I think one of the most obvious things that we've all seen, like Chat GPT, we've seen image generation, video generation that's completely AI. And the phrase that I keep hearing is like, this is the worst it's ever going to be, which is a little bit scary, but also like a really encouraging thing to see that like some of the content that would take us hours to create, we can create within 5 seconds just within an app. And so there's various forms in which that's helped, but one of the most basic ways is when we write scripts to create content. I mean, we can use something like Chat GPT or AI to help get started in the content creation. And I think this will probably be a common theme with all of us guys, is like AI can help get you to a point, but it can't do everything. So it's one of those things that we've had to learn to how to use it for our advantage. But anything from like generating a script to generating basic like vector art to help create animations, even to creating a concept video that would take usually hours and hours or days that we'd present to a client before the contract is signed. A lot of that, from that to proposals, can be finished. And I think the reason that I really realized this was going to be a thing is that about a year ago, 100% of our clients were AI driven companies, AI for different industries, AI for whatever their industry is, and that's what they needed their content produced for. So like the writing has been on a wall for a long time, but I think the one advice that I have for creatives like us here on the call, or even anyone in the consulting industry that might be disrupted by AI, is I saw this great meme, and it said that AI cannot take your job as a creative because that would entail the client knowing what they want. So I think we can all relate to that, where we can use computers to our advantage, but it's really a great tool for creative people to use without having it really take over. It just helps us get so much further, so much faster.
Yeah, that's super interesting. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about how digital's impacted trading, since 100% of trading pretty much is done using the internet these days. If we rewind the clock about 30, 40 years ago, most trading was done at exchanges. So exchanges, physical locations where people go to buy and sell things in the financial markets. And that's all fine and dandy if you're a Wall Street banker, but what about your dudes like me, some random bald guy living here in Texas trying to trade on the internet for a living? You wouldn't be able to do it if you lived here in Texas. You'd have to go to an exchange. You'd have to go to the little currency counter at the airport to exchange currencies if you want to trade Forex, foreign exchange currency markets. Now, with the click of a button, I can enter into a trade immediately using a brokerage and the internet. So it's pretty freaking sweet. Another thing that Brandon touched on, AI. Chat GPT, what used to take me an entire day of going back and forth with the developer to compile a simple few lines of code, I can now do in about 60 seconds using Chat GPT. Not only will it do kind of like what Brandon said, it'll do 90% of the work for you and generate the scripts needed to write, for example, an indicator that interfaces with a brokerage or an exchange to run an automated trading system, or even a manual trading system that you can use. It's like an indicator that just helps you make trading decisions. It can now take me a matter of minutes to throw it together. And not only will it do 90% of the work, it will debug itself as long as you put in the appropriate inputs, and you can say, hey, this isn't working, it won't compile here. Then it'll rewrite the code or that particular portion of the script to debug it. It's absolutely insane. A very simple example before I move on. The other day, just to see, I wrote a script in it roughly took me 2 to 3 minutes to get it up and running. A script for it's a website platform where I chart my charts on called tradingview.com. And they use a particular script called Pine Script. I went to ChatGPT, I told it, write a script for me that works with TradingView where I will get a notification when this particular asset fluctuates in excess of 1% within 1 hour. This will essentially allow me to catch big market spikes so that I can come in and counter the market and make trading decisions. Within a couple of minutes, I was able to get a fully functional code that interfaces with TradingView that sends an alert to my phone that tells me when the currency has fluctuated in excess of 1%, 2% within a particular time frame. I can get that alert while I'm out having lunch without having ever looked at that chart within the past few days, place a trade, and then get back to having my lunch, and it wouldn't be possible without the internet and AI. So digital, of course, hugely impacts my field, and it's a lot of fun, especially to see where it's going to be going within the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it was super shocking, but kind of exciting at the same time. I happened to be on the New York Stock Exchange floor right before the pandemic, and I had a friend of a friend type thing, got on the floor, and the amount of manual operations that were still in existence, on some of the main trades, it was kind of freaky. It's like from 30, 40 years ago. Obviously, there's a lot of automation in the background, but there's still people who run around taking handwritten notes and making some pretty bodacious trades. What about you, Austin, in recording, songwriting, producing? What's going on with digital transformation?
Yeah, so as far as digital goes in music, and especially in the producing and recording side of it, it's huge. I mean, what you had to do back in, like, let's say even back in the 80s, or early, even up to the early 90s, late 90s, was all live in a studio recording. I don't know if you've seen those big soundboard pictures on Google in a recording studio, and these beautiful walls, and he had these, huge Neve board with all these channels, and like this big beautiful live room with this exotic wood and all this stuff. That was what a recording studio was. And now, most of the time, the songs that you hear on the radio and on Spotify, and probably your favorite songs that are, modern favorite songs, are just made on a laptop. And that comes from just the evolution of like DAW, which is called Digital Audio Workstation, which is like Pro Tools and Logic and Cubase and FL Studio, and people being able to capture like live sounds and then use them and turn them into a digital format, so where you can use even like a guitar. Like there's these things called VSTs, virtual software instruments, where you can take guitar samples and then put them into this library and be able to play the guitar on just like your computer. For me, a lot of my records, I program drums, for example, and that's literally a sample drum kit that you get from a live room, and it's housed all in, compacted down into this one single software where you can program the drums, play the drums, do anything you want as far as drums go, and you won't even be able to tell a difference sound-wise. So it's huge. It's insane. It's quicker. It's easy. You can manipulate things more. I mean, back in the day when they recorded a tape. If you were to record a tape and you weren't able to get the take on the first go around, you had to cut that tape, splice it off, throw it out, and start over again, reload it up. Now you can manipulate things and make it perfect on the grid, and edit things and go back and retake over and over again, and it's so quick, and it's like you get what you want really fast. As far as the AI stuff goes, that's kind of a gray area right now in music, and I'm sort of like out of the loop as far as that goes. But I've been hearing like things like now you can clone people's voices, and you can quite literally make songs that sound like an artist in their voice with AI. Right now it's a little bit sketchy. It doesn't really sound that great, but I think it could get to a point where it does, and a lot of people are shaking in their boots because an artist, let's say like for example like Drake or someone, or Taylor Swift, that's massive, and quite literally anything they put out will be streamed or at least listened to once by the masses. Someone can go clone their voice and then make a whole rendition of a song, record it and everything, and then put it through that AI voice and then release it, and then be making all this money off of their popularity, rather, if you want to speak, or their likeness. And it's not really them. They're not getting any points on the master. The label's not making money. And so eventually it's kind of scary, because what if somebody goes out and makes a whole AI Taylor Swift record, and they're getting all this money from the record because people actually dig it and they like it, and then Taylor's like, well, what the hell? I'm over here and people like my AI records better than my own records. So I think, it's a slippery slope right now with the music industry and how it's going. So it'll be really interesting to see how fast it evolves and where it gets to, and what the limitations and the thresholds are become, or how they're able to control it. Because I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't think anybody does right now, because it's kind of the wild west
Yeah.
of it all. So I think where AI will really help, as far as in my world, is having like something like Siri for Pro Tools, where you can talk into your computer and be like, "Hey, can you load up this? Can you load up a instrument track? Can you mix this vocal and make it sound like vintage?" And then it kind of does it for you without you even having to type it in on the keyboard and stuff. I think AI in that sense will really be helpful, as far as like, efficiency and quickness in the studio, and just being more like, hey, I can be more creative focused and not have to be technical focused, and it can be a benefit in that way. But that's just couple examples and a little bit of how it's going over in the music world right now, production world.
I have like a really basic story to kind of piggyback off of what Austin was saying. Speaking of Taylor Swift and writing music, one of the things I did recently, I did a class I actually got to teach in a prison, which was interesting on its own. And on the way back, we were just talking with a couple guys I was with about life in prison, and then we talked about Chat GPT. And so I asked Chat GPT to write a song in the style of Taylor Swift about life in prison. It's not bad stuff. Like you can see how it relates. It's not something that you would catch from any other genre. It's very Taylor Swift-y. And then I asked it to write, a chord chart for that same song, which obviously nothing takes the place of the actual musician. But like you said, it's becoming something that is so powerful. And the cloning, I've seen bits of that, and I've seen that with videos. And again, right now, mid 2023, it's not perfect, but again, everything continues to get better. So I think, like Austin was saying, like accountability is going to become really critical. Like we need to have ways to know what is AI generated and what is not. I'm thinking of things that could be used in a court case. I'm thinking of things from a leader of a company or even a political leader. Anything that you can generate with AI can cause confusion or cause World War III, depending on how it's used and implemented. So I
Right.
think also, like just all that in addition to royalties and creating content for people who are popular content creators, I think in 10 years we might get to a point where we're maybe even in 5 years, we don't really know what reality is based on the content we consume, because anything could be AI driven.
Yeah, there's some corollaries in healthcare as well. It's like how much of your health care do you want driven by an AI bot versus actual clinician? And so there's arguments to be made both sides, but at the end of the day, who would you feel most comfortable with? And the AI capabilities now are getting to be that of equivalent of a clinician. But at the end of the day, I think sort of where we're all landing, and Austin, you were bringing out this example, Brandon, you touched on it as well, is you can't replicate the performance. So you can create your own little Taylor Swift version of music, but Taylor
Right.
Swift in person, in concert, there's no replacing that, experience, at least what we know of today. So, yeah.
And not just in the I think there becomes a point where we as I think as humans might become more used to AI, or this like evolvement of non-human things. So, most hip hop songs nowadays, it's all programmed. It's all, it's not even a real drum kit. It's no real instruments at all. And a person like nowadays would listen to a modern hip hop song and say, I like that better than, an 80s record that it was all live instruments. Just because of naturally your ear has gained this likeness to this, I guess, fabricated music that's just computer music, really is what it is. And so I think it just depends on like how much of that humanistic nature we want. I think we're getting further and further from that. And this is going to be really interesting to see. I think it's already just moving towards that. But in all genres, it'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, Nick, where do you think we're headed long term with all of this digital transformation and uh, AI? What do you think?
I have no idea, but I'm sure it will be interesting. The rapid expansion and rapid development and rapid improvement of AI in a number of different applications. It doesn't matter if it's trading, healthcare, videography, or music production. It is going to continue to get very, very interesting. I'm really interested in also seeing how government authorities and regulatory bodies are going to move forward with regulating this stuff. Because like Brandon said, you could have an AI generated recording of me saying something that I did not say in reality. And is that going to be admissible in court? Who gets to decide? Is a judge going to get to decide that? Or how do you determine what's real and what's not? It's going to be super, super interesting. So yeah, I have no idea where it's going to go, but I can say with confidence that it will be very interesting over the next few years.
Yeah, I think you just have to pay attention and don't be afraid and experiment and yeah, keep your eyes wide open. So I want to use this last couple of minutes to talk about digital transformation in healthcare. And all of you have been patients at one point or another, and you have this experience now as professionals in your industry with digital. What is one thing that you would love to see change in healthcare in terms of digital adoption, AI, whatever it might be? And this time we'll start in reverse chronological order. So we'll start with you, Austin.
Healthcare. Um, I think what I would be keen on seeing really is a way to, I think, just be more efficient in the sense of like, for example, I think hearts or like organs, being able to like manufacture like a organ. I know they're already doing that, right? But right now in this where we stand right now, if someone needs a new heart, they need to go get a heart transplant and need to have another human. Someone needs to pass away for another person to live, right? And what I would love to see is the ability to have a manufactured heart that is strong, that beats just like a real heart, that performs just like a real heart, not just a heart, kidneys, lungs. It would be really cool to see like the evolution of that and how it works in a human and how a human body takes it. And it's not really to like make humans fake. I feel like it's just to like, help people that might not have strong organs or that
Yeah.
they have health detriments and all that. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I
So,
like that idea. Yeah, today we have artificial knees and hips and things like that. And now we got to get to the more complex organs for the reasons you cited. I think that's the great challenge out
yeah.
there. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, so the question, just to be clear, it's like, what would I like to see, like in the medical environment as far as AI?
Yeah, and digital adoption, anything along those lines.
Okay, sweet. Here's what I would like to see. A little backstory. I struggle in clinical environments. I've had numerous surgeries and numerous experiences in clinical environments where I have passed out and fainted. I have this thing called vasovagal syncope fainting, where I'll get overstimulated being in a medical environment and it'll cause me to literally lose consciousness. And it's happened so many times. So this has placed an aversion inside me mentally to going to medical environments for a lot of things that are really stupidly simple. Like I don't feel like I should have to go see a doctor when certain things are happening that could be easily diagnosed at home and then having prescriptions mailed to me or filled at the pharmacy across the street so I don't have to go there and do all this stuff, and physicians don't have to take their time to do it. So here's what I'd like to see. I'm thinking off the cuff here, so bear with me.
Yeah.
If people could have some sort of a like a physical interface, some type of a piece of hardware that had sensors, cameras, the ability to diagnose and test blood. That way, if you were sick for whatever reason, you would use this machine, and it could be something very small and affordable, or even subsidized for the government in part or by insurance companies, that you could have that could test your blood, could test your breath, could use cameras to look and see different, like a scar tissue on your body, or some type of bruise, or some type of scratch, or some type of something that could happen to you. And then a machine using AI technology, getting better and better over time, could then diagnose you and then send that information to physicians who could quickly look at it for a couple of minutes and say, all right, let's approve this person to get this medication here. And then you could have that medication filled. And then let's say from the time like you get you get scratched by something with rust on it and you would need a tetanus shot. You could do something such as like saying, all right, this machine here has diagnosed me with that, and they're going to fill a prescription for me to go get a tetanus shot, and a doctor already signs off on it. Then you can go somewhere to get that shot, or you can have maybe a home health physician or nurse or something stop by, give you a shot real quick, something to really improve the quality of healthcare in the sense that it'll make it more efficient, more optimized, and also more convenient and comfortable. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people like myself sometimes just don't go to the hospital or medical environment or urgent care just because they don't want to have to go through that experience. And they're like, you know what, I'll just chill at home and I'll get better with time. Having something to make it more effective, more efficient, more convenient, more comfortable, it might make it a little bit better. And I think that AI and using digital and using the internet and using all of these things in tandem could really create an experience like that for patients. So that would be really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great, well-rounded scenario with a lot of different technology capabilities. And I agree with you. You got to make it a much better experience. So thank you. Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, Nick, I think we must be related. I struggle a lot in a clinical environment, anywhere where there's a ton of fluorescent lights, but specifically with that. And I think that would be amazing to have something like that. You know, on the other hand of things, I also think about from the medical workforce. I think about what are the pain points that might exist in the medical environment that could help me as the consumer receive better care. And I kind of relate it back to with what we use AI for in video. One of the newest things that has emerged within video is what we used to have to do is capture all sorts of content. We'd record an interview just like this, then we'd capture a lot of B-roll around the office or whatever the client's requirement is. And then we would take hours to go through the footage, find the good pieces, put them together, scroll. We'd have to listen to every bit of the audio to find out like what those keywords are that they say. But now what we can do is pull in all the video content, use a transcript by text, and then lay all the text out in the order we want it. And AI will edit and then add B-roll. It will find B-roll from what you've shot that correlates to that interview footage. So what that gets me thinking about with healthcare is all the medial, mundane tasks that have to happen by super smart people. So I think about a doctor or any sort of clinician that spends a lot of time doing the monotonous work that takes away from what they could be using their God-given potential, their brain, what they're actually paid to do. I think about a lot of employees that probably are paid very well and are well known in the industry and spend a lot of time doing the remedial basic tasks. And so I think, what comes to mind, not being in that industry, is things like appointment scheduling, things like data entry, and all the basic things that are very important to the backbone of the medical industry. I don't think that needs to be happening with a real person anymore. I think there's going to be huge need for someone to go in and complete a brain surgery, right? They should use their skills and time for that. But the amount of hours that are used for the mundane tasks, I think that can be taken care of by AI. And even to Austin's point, whether that's creating an organ, which would be really interesting, or even just the precision that I know already exists, like robotic surgery, but even just adding to that, because I think what's missing from that right now is kind of the human touch. Obviously, it's a robot, but with AI, I think that trying to is like a hybrid between the robotic and the human, and just to include that. So anything that can take away from the mundane tasks to make us more patient-centered and to be able to provide a higher level of care, I think would be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
also
are
piggybacking off of
go. Go ahead.
what Brandon is talking about too, as far as creating organs, it would, I don't know how it looks, but a way for AI to evolve and adapt to a human, a specific person, like learn their body, learn, how their blood flows, learning how their lungs operates, how they breathe, knowing what health detriment they have or disease they have, and how to adapt to that, and what doctors need to do to slightly tweak the organs, or maybe they need to have a secondary surgery to tweak to have the organ perform more efficiently. And that's kind of like a way that it can, I feel like, be very customized on a person-to-person basis instead of just be going in blindly. It has this learning capability.
Yeah.
I think even on top of that is like there's so many doctors and clinicians that I know personally, they'll talk about being with a patient and then they have to go to a room to either look up in a book or online something, because like there's no way to know everything about everything, specifically like an ER clinician. where anything could happen at any time. But if you could use AI to help with drug interactions or possible side effects of something else, like just using it to complete the knowledge that you already have, just like Austin was saying, and making the product better, I think would be a huge benefit.
Yeah, I love all those. No, this is awesome. I think you all three have hit on some of the pain points in healthcare and how what you're doing in other industries, whether it's finance, video, music, can really be applied to help push healthcare forward. So we've always lagged a little bit in healthcare, and I think your ideas are really strong. So thank you for being the guest, the first show. What do we end up calling this?
Edcast or
Yes.
Mark's Pod or
All right, Edcast Marks
yeah.
5. Megan and I my producer will continue to iterate on that and come out with something clever. But you heard it being innovated and made right here. But the final thing I want to say is I love all three of you. You all are amazing. You do great things in your industry. You're game changers in your industry. Thank you for being on this inaugural show with me, your dad. It's been a pleasure. So thank you.
Love you. Thank you so much for having us.
Love you too, Dad.
Yeah,
Thanks.
happy Father's Day.
Yeah, thank you. And back to you too, Brendan. All right, that concludes our show. Thank you.